So you want to learn Condi Virtuoso, which is one of the best builds to play in harder fights in Guild Wars 2 PvE right now. And it's too fast-paced for you, or you don't want to start out with such a high IPM build. Then this build is for you. This is the simplified version of the meta Condi Virtuoso build, and it uses exactly the same gear, so you can just simply slowly increase your difficulty of this build to go to the meta build. It's really tailor-made for people that want to start out slow and slowly increase the difficulty. Be sure to watch the whole video to not miss out a thing. As always, special shout out to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon to help me keep the lights on. Without much further ado, let's jump straight in. So let's start with the gear. So for armor, you have to split it up. So you go for 3 pieces of Rampager, which would be your helmet, shoulders, and your gloves. Those would be Rampagers. Your coat, your leggings, and your boots would be Sinister. This is necessary because you want to get to 100% crit rate with this build, because your crits actually apply bleeding because of the trait. So that's really important. It's the main damage. So 100% crit rate with Fury is really important. For your rune, you want to go with Rune of the Kite. It's just the best option. If you can afford infusions, you would go for condition damage infusions. For weapons, you want to go with just dagger and sword. You don't need the offhand focus, which is in the meta build. You don't need that. You can just drop it. You will only stay on dagger sword. For your stats there, you would go Sinister again with Superior Sigil of Agony and Superior Sigil of Earth. For trinkets, you would again do a split. So your amulet, your 2 accessories would be Sinister, and your back piece as well as your 2 rings would be Rampages. For your relic, you would go with Relic of Aristocracy. It's just very easy to upkeep all the amount of stacks that you get from this one, so it's really, really good. Link to the exotic version is also in the description below. But now to the consumables. So for the consumables, you would always go with Spherified Cilantro Oyster Soup. It's just the very best option because it gives you lifesteal. That's quite nice. And you just get 45 to all attributes, which is obviously the best if you want to go for precision, condition damage, expertise, and that kind of stuff as well as power. So keep that in mind. The cheaper alternative would be Dragon's Revelate Star Cakes, but this is even if it's cheaper or if you don't have access to Ascended food, it's actually not that much cheaper. So keep that in mind. It's just the most optimal food is just rather expensive. And then for utility, you would always go for Toxic Tuning Crystal. It's the best option, or something that gives similar amount of stats. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. But now to the traits. So for the traits, you would go with Dueling, Illusions, and Virtuoso. In Dueling, you just take a lot of just nice stats for Fury, for your Phantasms, just some passive ferocity and cooldown reduction, and more damage. It's not crazy because you're a Condi build, but you crit a lot, so that actually helps. And that's the important one of the 2 ones actually. Illusions inflict bleeding or critical hits, that's why you want to have them Fury, so they apply a lot of bleeding. And you get some Fury to you and your allies, and also have some Vigor, that's quite nice. Then Illusions gives you faster shatter skills, that's really important because you spam them a lot in this build. You get more damage when you create illusions, and just some more ammo on your F1. Your shatter skills inflict torment, that's actually quite important as well because you apply a lot of torment then with this. And then you get some nice damage increase. That's just about it. And then we have Virtuoso, which is obviously the key part of this because it accesses you to your blade skills. Really strong skills. And with this trait, all blade attacks inflict bleeding or critical hits. That's why you want to crit. And that's actually so overpowered, this trait. A percentage of your condition damage dealt heals you. So 3% of your outgoing damage actually heals you. So you are, so to say, self-sustaining a bit. And this is a very high damaging trait because all your blade attacks with 100% crit rate, which you have with Fury, you actually apply bleeding with all of them, so you can spike bleeding quite hard. Then you get some damage buff when you use the blade songs, so try to keep them up all the time. You get some nice Fury and also shoot out a blade when you cast the Phantasm, that's quite nice. You get Fury is even more potent than usual, so it now gives 40% crit chance. And don't forget, gain ferocity based on a percentage of vitality. So if you want to min-max this build, you would go with the Shadebot Core Tier 10, because then you get more vitality and this is converted into ferocity. Yes, you're not a power build, but still having more ferocity on a build that crits 100% of the time is actually helping in DPS, of course. Also, it gives you more defenses, of course. And then just bleeding, you apply this more damage, and you get passively a blade when you apply enough stats of bleeding. So you get it quite frequently and you can spam your blade songs way faster. That's it for the traits. Let's now quickly cover the utility skills that you would run. You would always use Signet of Ether, not only for the heal, but also for resetting your Phantasms, because they are quite strong. If you want to do that, but typically in an LI build you actually don't need it, so you can keep it. Then you have Rain of Swords, which is not in the meta build, but it's a very easy to activate and very useful thing to play. It deals a lot of damage and it's also a blade attack, so keep that in mind, it's really strong. And then you have just 2 passive signets that improves expertise or condition damage, so you will never use them. It's really good, but this could be a stun break. So if you're in a really dangerous situation, you can use it. This is a really hard stun, so use that if it's necessary, but typically you would not use them because they give a lot of damage passively. And then you have 1000 cuts. That's just a lot of damage that you can provide and a lot of blades, piercing attacks, instant cast, so it's really good as well. But if you need a lot of CC for whatever reason, you can also go for Signet of Humility for a lot of CC. But that's about it for the utility skills. Of course, you are Mesmer, so you can swap all your utility skills, so crazy good ones, for example, for invulnerability, for teleport, for stuff. But this is a low intensity build, so I won't go into detail here. If you want to go more detailed into the meta build, be sure to check out the description. I have a build guide about the meta build already out. But today we're gonna talk about the modular, simplified version of the Condition Virtuoso. For the weapon skills, just 2 and 3 skills deal a lot of damage, the 4 skill is a block, and a daze if you reactivate it, and the 5 skill is just a lot of damage. For the blade songs, of course, F1, F2 just deal a lot of damage. You should always try to use the F2 if it is up because it does the most damage, but you can also, of course, use the F1, and even the F5 does a lot of damage because it's instant cast as well, that's really nice, and the F3 also is worthwhile using if you go for all the blade songs. You can of course also go for the distortion because it's actually invulnerability on a 40-second cooldown. It's really good. Let's go into the rotation. So the first step is really easy. Yeah, the first step would be to just use your 2, 3, and 5 skill off cooldown. That's about it. Just using 3 skills while using the auto take all the time. And this actually gives you over 20k DPS already. So it's really easy to just get to that point. But if you want to slowly improve even more, then you would start using your opener as well. For your opener, you would use your Unstable Blade Song, so your 3 skill, into your Phantasmal Swordsend, and while you cast the Phantasmal Swordsend, you would use the Blade Tome Requiem, so your F5. Use your Blade Call, your 2 skill, and use your F2 skill, so your Blade Song Sorrow, once you have 5 blades. This is the opener, and after that you just follow with the step 1, using 5, 3, and 2 of your dagger sword of cooldown. When you want to increase it one step further, you would use your blade songs whenever you reach 5 blades. And the priority would be your F2 over the F1 over the F5. However, you should keep the Blade Song Harmony, so the F1, from reaching 2 star charges. So that means that if it has only 1 charge, you should use the Blade Tone Requiem above it. Hope that makes sense. And you can delay your Blade Song Harmony a bit if you want to guarantee that you have 100% uptime of the deadly blades, but that's not that important for the most part for a low intensity build. And the last step would just be using your 1000 cuts, so the instant cast off cooldown, and using your Rain of Swords as well off cooldown. That's it. You just would use your skills, your weapon skills, except the 4 skill and the 1000 cuts and the Rain of Swords off cooldown, while you use your blade songs whenever you have 5 blades. That's the low intensity build. You can see it's actually very easy to get high DPS with just a few buttons, and you can play it very safe, and you can slowly increase the utility that you use and go to your meta build by using the same gear. That's the good part about this build. And I think this is one of the most underrated builds to play as a condition build because it's very, very strong, and even the low intensity version has all the strengths of the normal build, so keep that in mind. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching, thanks to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon, and I hope to see you all in the next video.